Vintage Roses is a brand new paper pack from hot off the press, and Teresa has been busy creating wonderful things. Now we also have Vintage Roses chipboard. That's going to match perfectly, and we've added copper fab foil, which just works beautifully. And then Debbie found that our Mocha Ripple holographic cardstock works perfectly. So all of these goodies are yours today, and we invite you to come play with us. Now, before we get into Teresa's projects, I wanted to share a scrapbook page because that's just so fun to see. And you can see that torn papers were used, our 4-inch wide paper doilies, flowers, just to make it absolutely lovely. And you may have seen Sarah, who did some wonderful cards using Vintage Roses. I think it was in mixed media, either 9 or 10. So you might want to check those out. Okay, now let's get into what our Teresa has done. And let me get this. We'll get in closer so you can really see what's going on. And this is our usual 5 by 6.5 inch card. And we can get even a little closer, Steve. And Teresa has done some really interesting things, as is very much like Teresa. She has taken our regular card and then she turned it horizontally, so the fold is up here. She cut a 1/2 inch off the left and 2 inches off the right to make kind of a flap for the front piece. And do you see that copper foiling? Let me show you what she did. So she took our All Seasons oval wreath cutting die. So this is this die, and it's got all of these pieces. She didn't use those, she used the oval. She cut it 3 times, and then she stacked them together and had them ready to go. And then she took the piece, I just realized that this is dark brown on black, so that's not a good thing to show you. So then she took some of the Cosmic Shimmer Specialist glue and simply spattered it around. So, you know, just kind of doing it wherever she wanted to. You can even put it on with your finger. That will work too. So very random is what she did. So we're going to put the lid back on that. And then she took the copper foil. Now, the foil, it doesn't look like you get much, but that's deceiving because this is 1 meter long, so it's like 39 inches, and all you need are just pieces of it. So it's really goes a long, long way. So she has that on there, and then she just put the foil and touched it down, and it just needs to dry just for a moment. Okay. And I'm not sure that that's long enough, but let me just see. Let me make sure that it's really down. Now, obviously, I would have used a couple of pieces, but let me go with this one. We'll see. And you just lift it up. And look what happens. Well, I think you need to let it dry a little bit longer, Paulette. Okay. So we'll let that sit for a second. Let me go back to the card while that's kind of drying a bit. You can see that on this flap, she has placed a piece of the Vintage Roses paper, not only on the front, and she cut it a little bit, the paper a little bit smaller than this piece. The directions and the measurements are in the gallery down below, so you don't have to try to figure that out on your own. She did the same thing on the inside with another piece of the paper and let that be also within the margin. And then she added the flowers. Now these are the Butterscotch Sugar Posies. This has a nice variety of colors and sizes. She did the exact same thing that I'm doing on the die cut, on the cutting die, is that she just did a little bit of the glue, put the foil on it, let it dry for just a moment, and then just lifted it off. And what a beautiful, beautiful look. The other thing I just want to point out is that this piece, you'll notice, overlaps the inside of the card. So it sticks out. That's perfectly fine. I also like how she did this cluster down here and one blossom and leaves up at the upper corner. For her ribbon, she used jute. Now, our jute comes in 72-inch lengths, and there are just a whole bunch of colors in there. So this is going to last you a long, long time. And she's used the jute on a couple of projects today. So that worked nicely. Inside the card, this is one of the cutouts. There are 34 cutouts in that paper pack, and you can see she also did some gilding, and then she lifted this up on foam tape. It's just really gentle. Now let's go back and see if this has dried enough. I hope it has. It's just a wonderful look. There we go. Okay, and it just lifts off just like that. Now I didn't do it on all of the pieces, as you can see, but you can see that flash of color, and it's just that easy. And I think doing that kind of smattering of the foil, the fab foil, is just a wonderful, wonderful look. And I thank Teresa for that. Now we're going to go on to her second card. And here we go. Now Teresa's done some different things here also. This piece is a piece of cardstock. And let me show you what she's done. And I think one of the overall things that Teresa did today is that she went back into her some of the new things that we've come out this year, and she's used them along with the Vintage Roses papers. So she has taken, to make this piece, she has taken a piece of cardstock. Now use your imagination for a second, and this is 4.5 inches by 8. That's what she did, because then she didn't have to do it multiple times, because she's going to use this on the inside of the card also. So then she took this cardstock and placed it on the scoreboard. If you've got a scoreboard, that's fine. If you don't, the only thing you want to do is you want to score it every 1/2 inch. And this is securely in here. You just have to be strong about it. So then you want to go every 1/2 inch and score, just like this. And it's just that hard. I love this thing. I think it's so wonderful. There are also other things on the market, but this is from our friends at Hunky Dory. So you just go every 1/2 inch and score it just like that. Now you're going to go the whole part. Then you're going to cut off a 4-inch piece, and we'll go to the next step. Let me put the scoring tool right back in there. There we go. And I'll set this aside. And then we're going to bring in the ink pads. Now this is a Briar Brown is what Teresa used. And let me get my craft mat back so I don't get ink everywhere. And we want to brush this this kind of the grain that we want. This is going to look like wood. And the nice thing about doing, and I'm just going to do a little bit of it, is that the indentations that we've made, the score lines, they are going to stay tan color, whereas the rest of this is going to be the brown. So you can put as little or as much as you want. The other thing that she did is to do the outside edge in a darker brown, and for that she used the seal brown. Okay, so you can do that, like I said, as heavy as you want, and you can see that those score lines, of course, because they're depressed, are going to still show. And she used the seal brown as an edge around her paper as well as around this, just to give a little bit more definition. Okay. Now, as I said, this gets cut to 4 inches wide, and Teresa did round that corner. If you have a punch for that, that's fine. If you don't worry about it. So this went right here. So it made just a different accent for the front of her card. And it's not something I've kind of seen before. So that was really interesting. Now she did, like the first card, she put a piece of the Vintage Roses and let the edge of the card show. So that's why it's nice to have those measurements in the gallery down below. Now for her flowers, she used our bigger cutting dies. Now this is the bigger blooms, so you can see how she stacked those blooms. Now she used cardstock, and then she inked them with the Bordeaux ink pad, and that just gives it a little bit of shading around the edges, which makes it just really, really nice. For her leaves, she used the bigger leaves and ferns die, and this has been cut out of green cardstock, okay? So, and then in the center of her stacked flower, she used the diamond sparkles. This is the sepia. Your package will be complete. I tagged this from the design team to show it to you. Now for her greeting, she used our 500 greetings dazzles. Now these are all script. You get them in black, white, gold, silver. You get a couple of different packages, but there are 500. So just for you. And then on the inside, she did a similar technique, but let happy birthday. So you'll notice the one on the front is black, the one on the inside is gold. Well, you have all of those colors in the 500 greetings pack. And then you can see another flower on the inside. Now this little dazzle right there and the ones right here, they are little accents that are on the package. So you don't have to buy anything extra to get that. Also, jute is what she used in this one. And I love the jute. I just think it does such a really nice part of, as something different than a ribbon. Ribbon is perfect, we love it, but the jute is just really nice right there, and I like that. Notice how she wrapped it around that little piece of cardstock that she had inked, and then she made a bow also. On the inside, we didn't have any jute there. The other thing I want to point out, and this is so true of Teresa, that could be a card front, folks. That could definitely be a card front. And that's another one too. So that's really nice to see. Just lots of options. Now, when I sent her the supplies to do this, we did not have the Vintage Roses chipboard. So I wanted to show you what Debbie did. And Debbie, as I said in the opening, that she found the Mocha Ripple Holographic. And look what she did with the Vintage Roses chipboard. She left them white, and that's one thing that I love about our chipboard is that it's white. And then she just backed them with the Mocha Ripple. Now, you may not think, and I certainly wouldn't have thought of when I saw these papers looking so vintage, to do a holographic with them, even though the colors work well. But what I love is what Debbie did, and it gives you sparkle, it gives you some shine, and so easy to do. She did glue them down and then foam tape them, and you can see there's several full roses. There's quite a few, a couple of buds and several leaves. And the leaves are just straight down, but the flowers have all been backed with the mocha. This is one of those 34 cutouts in the set. And you can see again the paper, and then there's a border strip that was added down below. So that was really fun, and I wanted to be sure to share it. So since Teresa did not have those, she went back in her scheme of looking at previous products. Let me scoot this over. Okay. And Teresa found our Butterfly Meadow, which is a wonderful set. And she decided to do a card using that. Now, whereas Debbie just backed the chipboard, which is great, Teresa did some embossing powder. And she has used the mixed media Iron Age on those pieces. Isn't that stunning? That deep, deep, rich silver. And then on the butterflies, she used this is from Stampendous, and this is copper tinsel. And just, you can see what a beautiful look that is. And what she did to create this card is she did a 5-inch square. So we now have 5-inch square cards and envelopes as packages, but you can take your 5 by 6.5-inch card, you can cut it down to 5 inches square, and then on the front only, she did a score line from the upper right to the lower left, scored it, because this is going to become a twist easel card. And let me show you. So she has placed pieces of course, the Vintage Roses flowers. You can see that wonderful grid behind it. So she cut a smaller piece than 5 by 5, and then just cut it in half, placed them, glued them to each panel, and then she positioned her chipboard on top. Now, when I open this, you're going to see how that pops up. Isn't that neat? Now, Teresa did say, please note that these are delicate, and I did find something, so in case you noticed it, you see how that piece goes up? And I think there's another piece, maybe this little piece. When I lift it, they kind of stay there. Well, that's because a little bit of glue got on those. So I didn't want to try to pull it up, but I wanted to just tell you that that's something to note, to be careful with your gluing, that you only put it down here. But even something as delicate as this, I thought it was really fun that it extends out from that triangle. I don't know that I would have thought of ever doing that. I think I would have thought of things being within that space, but I think it's really fun to have them pooch out. So you can do that with the butterfly meadow, or you could also do it with the vintage roses, whichever you like. But the most important thing is how many things you can do with the chipboard. Now, the other thing that Teresa did, you see that little border up there and down here? This is on one of those cutouts. That came from our fancy borders. This is another collection, black, white, gold, silver, and fancy border dazzles is what this is called. Now, in the inside of her card, she has another piece, obviously, of the vintage roses, 2 more pieces of the fancy borders, and then another of the cutouts just lifted up a little bit with foam tape. And that creates this card. Very neat. Okay, now we have one more, and Teresa's done a lot of things on this card, so let me get this organized for you. Okay, this card has a pocket. It's got a pocket on the front flap, and she has gone back, as she has done on many of these cards, and looked at whatever the things that were new that she wanted to also use. This time it is the Floral Sprays stamp, a beautiful stamp. And what it has is these shapes, circles, ovals, with flowers on part of them. And then also there are greetings and then additional embellishments. So that's what Teresa has done here, is she stamped this on white cardstock. And I think you can see, let me put this, these are raised on foam tape, so she stamped some additional pieces and colored these in with our favorite tri-blend markers. And what we love about the tri-blends is that you're going to get 3 shades of any color. So you're going to get that dark, medium, and light. Just, it's all in one pen for one price, and that's really nice. For You is what she stamped here. Now, she did cut them out, leaving a white edge. So that was, you know, just a little thing that she did. Let me show you the construction of this card. I did show you that it looks like this, and this is a pocket. She has slipped a gift card in there. So that's nice. Now, there are patterns here, and these are in the gallery. Go to this card, click on it, and then go over to the supply. You'll see the supply list followed by the instructions. At the bottom of the supply list, you'll see download. And so that's what this is. So there is a download for this piece, which will look like this when you cut it out. And then there's also this piece, which is the card base. And that's going to look like this when you cut it out. So this is going to get scored. The broken lines are score lines, so you're simply going to score it and fold it. You can use that scoreboard to do your scoring. This one, as you can see, has 3 lines that are broken, so they're going to be folded and scored and folded. Okay. Now, as you can probably tell, Teresa has already put the extra sticky tape on the edges of this. Then you're going to peel off that orange liner and just position it like so, just like that. Now, because this gets covered up, this little finger hold, you don't need to decorate the inside of this, but you'll be ready to decorate that. And this becomes your card. So beautifully done. Now, as you can see, there is a piece of the Vintage Roses paper here, and also one on the inside. Now, I thought it was really fun that Teresa elected to put 2 of the cutouts here. She had room, and why not decorate it? She also used a border from the cutout sheet up at the top here and right here. Then she added some black lace. This is from our friends at 49 and Market, and there are 3 different widths. She has used the medium width right here and placed that border right over the top of it, added a few more of the stamped and cut out butterflies flittering around, and just goes like that. Just really fun to see extra things. Speaking of extra things, I do want to tell you that in probably the very beginning of September, we will have 3 more things in the line going with the vintage roses. I'm really sorry they weren't ready now, but let me just give you a sneak peek. We will have some die cuts. These will already be cut out, and they will coordinate with it. Now you may be wondering, hey Paulette, how come there are different colors in here? Well, that's because, as you've seen with what Teresa's done, many different colors will go with the sepia tone vintage roses, but we're going to take it one step further. We're also going to do 6x6 papers. Now, right now they're being designed as I am taping this, and for the vintage roses, there are going to be 4 collections in the one package of 6x6 vintage roses. So they will be in these 4 color combinations. So the sepia, the rose, the teal, and the cream. And they will coordinate not only with these die cuts, but also with the chipboard and with the fab foil, wherever that went on my desk. And that will just be a really fun collection to have. We will also have some 12x12 cardstock that will coordinate with all the colors. So we are busy here. I just really wanted to share that with you, and it's just fun to be able to expand with this wonderful color combination. So all of these, some are available right now, others will be coming in just a few weeks. And Teresa, as always, has done such a wonderful job. As I've said during this, instructions are down below. There is a money saver over on the right-hand side. I invite you to take advantage of that. If you are watching this on YouTube, please head over to paperwishes.com. Sign up for our emails, because we'll tell you the moment new things arrive every single week. We have special sales every single day, and we really do want to have you take advantage of all of that wonderfulness. Thank you so much for joining us, and so much for being part of our Paper Wishes family. See you next week.